There are many people that are stuck in South Africa. The borders have been closed up to the end or after the 1st of May, when everything else is going to start opening. What is the role of government in helping these people who are stuck in South Africa to get back home?
The role of government is to assist people with the transport, to assist people with the quarantine, and also food stuffs and all the necessities needed when someone is under quarantine, and also help them with maybe food parcels, their welfare after the quarantine, because these people are displaced. They left Zimbabwe to South Africa, and when they come back to Zimbabwe, they are again strangers in their own country because they don't have by any means of an income.
Currently, do you think the government is doing enough?
It's a propaganda. They are helping because they don't want the whole world to see that they are rejecting their citizens. Otherwise, people who are being deported from Botswana, they were just dumped, in a street after quarantine. And during quarantine, it's families who must travel with food. And we have got a high number of sexual transmitted diseases because people in quarantine, prostitution is now rife because people are stranded, they don't have food. So people are infected with the disease. So it's a catch-22 situation.
Okay, so what should the government be doing at the present moment, especially for the guys who are in South Africa? Let's start with all the over 4 million people who are stuck in South Africa.
As we know, our government, they run politics, they don't run development or whatsoever. You can see on South African national televisions, the person who is communicating to Zimbabwean citizens is none other than Mr. Mandaza, who is a ZANU-PF spokesperson in South Africa. When the disaster must be communicated and it must be the responsibility of the national government, not ZANU-PF. By doing so, even in districts, in provinces, the communication is going through ZANU-PF structures. And those who are not inside ZANU-PF, they are deprived of the information, they are deprived of the assistance.
The embassy has been very quiet, and many people who have tried to call the embassy, they found out that the numbers are not going through. What do you suggest people should do who are in South Africa who need to cross over back to Zimbabwe?
Here, our Zimbabwe government is quiet on the issue. If you want to be helped, you must be connected to ZANU-PF, as the president is saying that Mr. Mandaza is the spokesperson of ZANU-PF, but he seems to be the spokesperson of Zimbabwe as well. It's like we don't even have an embassy here. The embassy phone numbers, they are not working, they are not going through. Them ZANU-PF people, they are eating. ZANU-PF people, they are connected to Mandaza. They are getting everything that they need. So we as Zimbabweans, the Zimbabweans that believe in democracy, that believe in freedom, that believe in fairness, who are not thieves, we must come together, join hands, and then help each other here in South Africa. No person must go to Zimbabwe, because you go to Zimbabwe, you can never come back. And let's say you come back, how are you going to recover? Where is your property? Where are your things? It's something that is very impossible to do. So we need to come as South Africa, as Zimbabweans in South Africa, and unite and help each other here in South Africa. Let's forget about ZANU-PF. Let's forget about Mnangagwa. It doesn't care about us.
Right, Mr. Jonas, do you agree that Zimbabweans must ignore that form that has been sent out by the embassy and just stay here? Yes,
that's true, because that form is just a cheap propaganda to dump people back in Zimbabwe. Why are Zimbabweans in diaspora in the first place? Because they couldn't sustain life in Zimbabwe. So now, because of the lockdown, because most of our people, they are working in restaurants, in trucking, in construction, and in beauty industry, they're affected right now. It's just the time that we need to help each other now. That's why we are creating a database. We have got Zimbabweans who are doing well here financially. We have got Zimbabweans with a good heart. Like, we can't mention them by names. We know Zimbabweans who are doing well here. We can help. We wanted to help each other, create provincial coordinating teams, churches from Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe communities in different locations. We can help each other. That's what we need. Otherwise, to go to Zimbabwe, It's from crying from a frying pan to fire. Zimbabwe is worse than here. The embassy lines are not used because there's no line between the government and the ZANU-PF, according to ZANU-PF leadership. So Mandaza is the spokesperson of the government, although he's a spokesperson is a spokesperson of ZANU-PF, and they are taking it as an official communication of the government. Yet you don't use your party spokesperson to represent the government. So it's a crisis, and the Zimbabweans in South Africa, they are stuck, and those ones back home are also stuck because we don't have a government. We have got a mafia. ED is a mafia. We know what he did with the El Shabaab in Midlands province, with the project manager, Owen Ngube, killing people over a gold syndicate. So, I mean, it's a problem. Zimbabwe, we are on our own, and we need to find means now to help one another because we don't have a working government.
Most of the people that traveled home last week from Botswana, they had nothing. Almost most of them were carrying only a small bag. Why do you think most of these people are coming back with nothing?
If you realize, mostly the people who go out of Zimbabwe, especially countries like our neighboring countries like South Africa and Botswana, they are kind of people who are not documented, who don't have skills, who are kind of did not do well at school, who are not who don't carry any certificates. So whenever they go to neighboring countries, it is their duty to be put as cheap labor, and then when they are put as cheap labor, the salaries, the wages, anything that they get is too little to keep them. So whenever you are in diaspora, whenever the government says they deport you, I mean to say, the government deports you, you find that you have got nothing, you are nothing. Because as well as you are undocumented in a foreign country, you are not recognized by that government. And at the end of the day, if you're not recognized by that government, you have got nothing at all. You have got nothing to take with you. You have got nothing to say at the end of the day.
The situation was made worse because a 6 months lockdown in a foreign country, when you do menial jobs hand to mouth, I mean, they couldn't survive. So they had to come back home, but the government is punishing them because the government knows that all people who are in diaspora, they experience first-hand democracy. And then they when they come home, they don't like their government because they understand what is democracy. Botswana is a democracy, South Africa is a democracy. So anyone who is outside the border of Zimbabwe is an enemy of the state because by default, you know what is democracy. And you know that what is in Zimbabwe is military regime. So the government separates citizens from those who are ignorant, who are praise singers, they are taken care of. Those who have eyes now to see that we are under military junta, they are neglected. And those people from Matabeleland, they are neglected because since 1980, there was ZAPU presence in Matabeleland. And after Gukura Wunti, Ndebele people are taken as enemies of the state. And it's a government policy to make them incapacitated. This is the time that Zimbabweans must come together and help one another. And besides that, this is the times that it should combine us, that it must unify us to realize that we need to remove the government.
So as we are uniting, we unite for one cause. We unite to remove ZANU-PF. We unite to remove the military junta that is ruling Zimbabwe since 1980. I will precisely say, especially for Matabeleland. You know, Matabeleland, I've got good examples of people who came here in late 1980s. You know, just when Robert Mugabe taken power in Zimbabwe, he started massacring people, he started killing people, precisely the Ndebele people. So a lot of people had anger. They had to run away from Zimbabwe. They had to move. to come to South Africa. I've got cousins who came here in 1980s, late 1980s, some soon after Kukuraund, some during Kukuraund, because they were wanted by ZANU-PF. That is after exactly the push had finished in the negotiations of Lancaster House Conference. So, I mean, you can see the anger in the time from all that from Kukuraund until today. We are still crying of the same government that is harassing us, that is depriving us of freedom, that has deprived us of education, it has deprived us of democracy and staying in Zimbabwe. So we need to unite as South Africa, as Zimbabwe's diaspora, whether it is in Botswana, it is in South Africa, Zambia, Mozambique, because Zimbabweans are all over the world. I'm talking about Zimbabweans who are youths, who are capable of removing the ZANU-PF cult, because elections have failed. We all know that elections are failing. They are a failure. And the 23 elections, they are already done and dusted. Not talking about 2028 elections, they are also done and dusted. So we are still under the same cloud for the coming 10 or more years. That is why Emmerson Mnangagwa will always come to the public confidently and tell you that 2030, he knows that he is already a president beyond those years. So we need to, as Zimbabweans, not to fold our hands. People are folding their hands. You tell them of ZANU-PF, they fold their hands. They cry every day. That is why exactly we are being led by thunderheads. We are being led by people like Chiwenga, who are soldiers, because those mines that are supposed to be in Zimbabwe, they are not there. They are full everywhere in the world. They are progressing other countries on the expense of Zimbabwe.
South African government is going to give its citizens some grants, social grants. And remember, majority of us, we don't have documentation, so we don't qualify. I think this is the time for Zimbabweans to speak with one voice. Forget about the political party, forget about tribe and any other lines which can divide us. We need to help one another, and then secondly, remove ZANU-PF before 2023.
Right. Thank you very much, gents. Mr. Tinashe Jonas, President, Ideal Zimbabwe, Mr. Makoes Wanda, spokesperson of Ideal Zimbabwe. It was nice talking to you today.
Thank you so much for the platform.
Thank you very much.